Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you've not been here before, I'm Naomi and welcome to my little corner of YouTube. I'm going to be your yoga teacher today, and today we're going to be going through a hamstring stretch sequence. It's a very accessible, easy hamstring stretch. So we're going to be doing a couple of stretches, and generally they're going to be focusing on tight hamstrings. If you don't have tight hamstrings, you're more than welcome to do this practice anyway. We're going to just be gently moving between some poses. And if you are new to yoga or have never done it before, do not worry. This is a perfect practice to start with. Generally, we all have tight hamstrings, so you will definitely feel stretches. I'm going to give a lot of modifications. So if you are new to yoga and you find these poses quite challenging, listen out for those modifications and just maybe make sure you've got a book or a yoga block around, so that you can use that, and that helps us bring the ground closer to us. In case we do have tight hamstrings, it just lifts the ground closer to us and helps us to get into the stretches with a little bit more accessibility. We're going to start straight away. We're going to start laying on our backs. So coming down, laying on your back, just lengthening the whole of the spine to the mat, and then take the legs out long. And we're going to take the palms up to the sky. Close the eyes if you feel comfortable to do so. And just pause. And we're just taking a moment to settle in. So allow the thoughts of the day to slide away. And just know that for the next little while we're going to practice together. And all that matters in our yoga practice is our breath. So today, all we're thinking of is the breath, and that breath is going to help us when we start to feel those stretches, when we start to struggle. Perhaps the hamstrings can feel pretty tight. We can struggle with our hamstring stretches. So if you feel that mental struggle, that mental fidget, just come back to your breath. Our breath is our focus. It's going to help us through our practice today. So take a few moments, just connect with your breath, notice your breath, notice the rise and the fall of the chest. And we're going to try and breathe through the nose in our yoga practice. So we breathe in and out throughout the nose. This helps us relax a little more. And it just encourages the body to come down a few levels and just relax deeper, which is going to help us in those hamstring stretches. So when we're ready, we're going to take the legs together. We're going to flex through the left toes. So by flexing the toes, I literally just mean pointing the toes to the sky. That's all you have to do. And we're going to draw right knee into the chest. And we're going to take a clasped hand just below the knee on the shin. And you can keep the eyes closed if you wish. If you're comfortable to, then go ahead. Otherwise, you can open up those eyes. And as you exhale, you want to try and relax the shoulders. So you want to try and relax the chest so that the shoulder blades melt into the mat and the knee comes towards you. If you are tight in the hamstrings and in the body, you might find you're having to quite strain quite hard and you're coming towards the knee. Try to soften it off. In yoga, our poses are meant to be gentle. They're meant to be effortless. Not always. Obviously, sometimes we do add some strengthening poses and some hard work. But for today's class, we're meant to try and find an effortlessness in our stretches. So don't strain. Try to just soften into the pose. It's easier said than done, so don't worry, but try to find your breath. We're going to release that clasp and we're going to take the heel of the foot to the sky. And we're going to start to straighten through that leg. And if you have tight hamstrings, that leg probably won't straighten. So you can keep a bend in it. Keep a bend in that knee as much as you need. If you've got a big bend in the knee, take the hands behind the thigh. You can relax the foot and we're just going to draw the knee slowly in until you feel a stretch. Don't go too far. Don't push it too much. Just until you feel a stretch. If you've got slightly longer hamstrings and you've got that leg straight, then you can bring the whole of the leg in straight. You might even find you want to shift the hands up to the calf muscle and bring the calf in as well. So just testing out how your hamstrings feel. They'll feel different every day, but you'll know if you have tight hamstrings. So just take it easy. Find your breath. And we're going to breathe for 5 full breaths together. Remember to breathe through the nose if you can. Really good. Breathing for 4. Really nice. Try to find softness. Remember that effortlessness in our poses. And maybe you're in this variation. Wherever you are, it's okay. Really good. Breathing for 2. Breathing for 1. Lovely. Lengthen that leg all the way down and just notice the difference between left and right now. That should feel really, really good. Draw the left knee in this time, and we're going to take a hold just below the knee on the shin like we did on the right hand side. Remember to flex the right toes so the toes come up to the ceiling. And exhale, release the shoulders onto the mat, the collarbones, so the bones that just come across the front of the chest, they soften. And the knee draws towards you. You're not drawing to the knee draws towards you. All about effortlessness, all about relaxation in these few hamstring stretches we're going to do today. Lengthen it out. Allow the body to soften and breathe. Really nice, really good. Lengthen left heel to the sky. Maybe you take that long leg. Maybe again you go for that knee bent option, whichever is right for you. You might even find you want to bend the right knee and take the sole of the right foot to the mat if that's feeling more accessible for you. So take your option. If you really want, you can take those hands up to the calf muscle if you've got the legs straight, and if in doing so you can still get the back of the head to the mat. If you can't get the back of the head to the mat and you're like this, don't worry about it. Just bring the hands back down to the thigh and draw the leg towards you. When we stretch our hamstrings, it's really important that we listen to our body, particularly if the hamstrings are tight. So throughout the next couple of stretches, really listen. Observe how your body feels. Really nice. Beautiful. Breathing for 3 more cycles of breath. Really good. When you're ready, when you've taken your 3 breaths, just bend that knee, draw both knees in, and rock all the way up to seated. And then from here, we're just going to rock forward, take the hands in front of the knees, and take the knees back. So we're finding a tabletop position. And then from here, we're just going to lift up the right hand and take the right foot so that it's in front of the left. You want a bit of space between the two, but we're coming into a lunge position, so lifting the chest up. And in our lunge, always make sure that our front knee is over our ankle. This is where you may want your yoga blocks or books if you have books, because if you cannot reach the ground or if you're struggling, you might want them so you could take them under your hand. So you'd put your block here or your book, and then you'd put your hand on top, and it lifts the torso up a little. You may find that more accessible for the next stretch. What we're going to do is we're going to send those hips back. We're going to pick up the toes and come onto the heel. You might just want to take the heel slightly further forward and draw those toes up, and you are going to feel that in that hamstring now, in the hamstring and the calf. So the whole of the back of that right leg, you're going to feel that. And the more you draw the toes to the sky, the more you stretch into the calf as well. You might find you need to bend the knee. So if you can see, I've just taken a bend in the knee. That might feel better for the hamstring. You might need to relax the foot a little. Try to keep it so both sides of the foot come towards you evenly. Maybe you have that leg fully straightened. Just try, if you can, to stay straight through the spine. If you don't have yoga blocks but can't touch the floor, you can take your hand to a wall if you're near a wall, or you can take the hands onto the thigh. That does make it a balance, so it makes it a little bit more challenging. Do be careful of your hamstrings. And we're going to close the eyes wherever we are. And we're going to breathe together for 5 full cycles of breath. Really good. Really nice. Really good. Doing really well. 1 more cycle of breath. I know it's tough. Keep it going. And then bend into the knee, walk the hands forward, and just shoot that leg back and switch sides. So we're looking to bring the left foot forward this time. Coming straight into the hamstring stretch, walk the hips back, draw the toe to the sky. Find your hamstring stretch on the other side. If you need those blocks, take your blocks or your books under your hands, lift them up. So bring the floor to you. Try to find a long spine so we're not rounding through the upper chest. We're nice and long. We're going to breathe for 5. Close the eyes if you wish and remember your breath. Find the softness of your breath to help you stretch. You're doing really well. Breathing for 2. Breathing for 1. Beautiful. Walking the hands back towards the feet. And then we're going to take that foot back so we're kneeling. Cross over the ankles and just rock all the way through to come to seated. And we're going to bring the legs out in front of us. So you may find that even just sitting, trying to get the shoulders above the hips and the toes flexed, you might feel you're leaning back, you're rounding through the shoulders. It's really, really hard. So we're going to spend a few breaths in this pose, and it looks simple, but for lengthening out tight hamstrings, it's really, really good. So what we want to do is we want to sit upright with the spine. If you can't get upright with the spine, bend the knees. So if sitting like this isn't possible, bend the knees and you'll find it's more accessible. So if you're sitting like this, bend the knees, lift the spine. We're going to take the hands just either side of the hips, palms into the mat. If you've got the legs long, then just focus, engage the core a little more and feel the length through the backs of the legs. Close the eyes and together we'll breathe for 5. For 4. For 3. For 2. For 1. Beautiful. Okay, we're going to come into our forward fold now. This is probably going to be the hardest of all of the poses if you do have tight hamstrings. If you've got a cushion or a yoga block or even a big book like a dictionary to sit on, then you can lift your hips and plonk the block or the cushion underneath. And that's going to help with the anterior tilt of the pelvis. So it's going to help us tilt the pelvis forward. And as we tilt the pelvis forward, that lengthens our hamstrings, but also helps us fold with the whole of the spine. So rather than rounding through the back, which is what we do if we have tight hamstrings, rather than doing that, if we lift our hips onto a cushion, we can fold from the hips. We can hinge from those hips. So it's a really nice idea to grab yourself a cushion or something to sit on. If you need to pause the video, run and grab one and come back, then that's absolutely fine. In our forward fold, we always flex those toes. So the toes come to the sky. This protects the knees and the hips and the ankles. It keeps us all in line with those legs. So think about that 90 degree that we were just working on. If the hamstrings are still tight, even if you're sitting on a block, bend the knees. Always, always have that option in a forward fold. So we're going to be starting somewhere here. Inhale, lift the hands up high and then hinge forward until you feel a stretch in those hamstrings. You might not get very far, that's absolutely fine. When you feel your stretch, you take the hands to the mat and you settle wherever you are. We're going to be here for 10 breaths. So if you're really tight in the hamstrings, your stretch will probably look something like this, and this will be enough. If you're a little bit looser but still working with tight hamstrings, you might have the legs long and you might find you're somewhere maybe 40 degrees or so, and that's fine. You'll see some yogis that can lay all the way down on their legs. If that's not accessible to you, it doesn't matter. Yoga is not about coming into the full pose. It's not about getting all the way down there. It's about working until you feel a stretch. It's about looking after your own body. And yoga looks different in every body. So wherever we are, we're going to breathe together. Close the eyes. Settle into your pose, always remembering you can ease off through the knees if you need at any point. We're going to breathe together for 6 more cycles of breath. There's no need to count the breath, I'll count it for you. Try to stay long in the spine and just watch your breath. Just observe it. Remember that soft breath. Remember how we can use that to help us in our stretches. Really good. Breathing for 3. Really nice. I know it's tough. Breathing for 1. Really good. Blink open the eyes and walk those hands back. Lift the hands to behind the knees, draw the knees in, and then just gently hug around the backs of the knees. Drop the chin to the chest, and maybe just sway a little side to side. Doing really well. And then when you're ready, just come up, and you can sit cross-legged. You can just stay as you are. So there you have it. There you have a couple of stretches for some really, really good hamstring stretches. So there are many, many more stretches that you can do. But if you have tight hamstrings and you just want to bring a little bit of release, say you run a lot or you spend a lot of time seated, the hamstrings can get really, really tight. So there are some quite accessible poses with adaptations for you, and hopefully if you have a little play with them, you might find the hamstrings slowly begin to release. And know that it does not matter how far and how deep you get into those poses. It is not about being able to lay all the way down on your legs. It is just about releasing slightly into those muscles so that the muscles just are a little bit more supple and they're just a little bit more soft or a little bit softer. And that is the aim. It's not about trying to reach your toes. It is not about trying to get the whole of the body laying down. It is just about finding a little bit of release into the muscles so that they don't pull on the joints or wherever they attach. So our hamstrings attach into just around the glutes. Some come up into the hips and into the backs of the knees and the backs of the calves. And we just want to ease off the muscle so that it doesn't pull at the ends of the muscle as much. That is why we try and find a little bit of length. It should bring you some relaxation, some softness, and some resilience into your body. Just go easy. The hamstrings can feel tight a lot of the time. Take it really, really easy. Don't dive straight into the poses and go really, really deep. Just take it your own pace. Use the adaptations that I've given and just see where you go. See where your hamstring stretches take you. Hope you found today's little session useful, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day.